Welcome to the Early Morning Light Podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Early, and on this podcast, I share life-changing tips, tools, information, motivation, and inspiration to bring light to your life as you tune in to the podcast. Man, we are at an interesting time in the year as we're headed into the summer months. For me, that's a big shift from being more busy to being less busy in some ways, but also just more time to spend with family and spend with people that I care for. I don't know what your summer looks like, what type of job I work in an educational environment where, I work with students, so the students are not around during the summer. So, we're working, but it's not the same as during the school year. So I'm just gearing up and preparing myself. I got some new things that I'm working on for the summer that I'm excited about. I got a little bit of travel to do over the summer, so I'm just gearing up. But I've just been thinking lately just about the state of our world, our country, and I'm not going to get all political. I don't do that on this podcast. So if you're bracing yourself for that, you can throw that out the window. Not about to happen. But I will just speak in generalities and saying that there's a lot of things, a lot of stuff going on right now that is, I was going to say could be, but is affecting many people in a lot of different ways. And so today, what I wanted to do is just to encourage everyone who's listening and even myself and people I care about to not give in to the fears that may be surfacing. Let me say that again, to not give in to the fears that may be surfacing as you look at what's going on in the world in terms of the wars and the prices and going up and gas prices and all the things that we hear in the news and not to mention all of the negative stories of murders and possible pandemics and right now we're experiencing that. With that rodent disease. I can't think of the name right now, but they're assuring us that it's not another COVID. So I'm trying to embrace that. But my point today is I want to encourage all of us to not give in to the fears that may be surfacing, because what happens is when we start to give in to the fears, everything seems so uncertain. I once heard someone say that fear equals uncertainty plus a loss of control. Let me say that again. Uncertainty, I'm going to reverse it. Uncertainty plus a loss of control equals fear. That's what produces fear in a lot of ways. And this person went on to say that when we lack a sense of personal control, our overall perception of certainty and orderliness declines. So we start to feel this fear and we start to live out the fears. Someone once said, fear, that the acronym stands for false evidence appearing real. We think about these things in such a way all the time, and we listen to things and feed our minds with things that create this sense of uncertainty, which creates the sense of loss of control. We can't do anything about this and it's going to get worse and all these things that we think. So we start to feel this sense of fear. And the reality is that fear makes us weak in a lot of ways. And I'm not saying that, it's bad to experience fear and that we're not going to feel that fear. You probably heard the expression, feel the fear and do it anyway. That's what I subscribe to. So, you're going to feel it. But the goal is to recognize when the fear is surfacing. And as I'm sharing today, to think of it in terms of, I'm feeling this fear because of the sense of uncertainty. And because of this sense of uncertainty, I'm feeling this loss of control. Like I can't do anything about what's happening. And because of that, it's going to get worse, and it's going to make me unsafe, and it's going to make me, I don't know, destitute, and whatever you may be thinking. I'm not saying that none of those things are going to happen, but in most cases, they're highly unlikely. It's highly unlikely that things are going to spiral. And what I would like to say, to encourage, instead of giving into that cycle and feeding into that cycle of uncertainty and loss of control, what I would encourage you to do is to refocus, shift your mind, and you got to be intentional about this, to thinking about what are the things that I can control. Yeah, I mean, I think it is a worthwhile activity for each of us to sit down at some point. It could even be every day as a daily process. But at least at some point, just sit down and think about how you're viewing your world, and just jot down, give yourself a few minutes, I don't know, 5 minutes to jot down, what are all of the things that are within my control, that I can control on a daily basis. When I think of that, immediately I think of one of the things I can control is how I treat people, how I interact with people. I get to decide how I'm doing it. I can control what type of information I expose myself to, what kind of information I take in on a regular basis, meaning for me, trying to take in information that is actually going to be helpful, that's not going to feed the fear. The worst thing we can do is feed the fear. So I can control those things. How I interact with people, how I treat people. I can control how I take care of myself, my self-care, right? No one's going to do that for you better than you can. And you get to choose what self-care looks like for you. I could go on. I could list probably, if you gave me 5 minutes, I could probably come up with a whole page of things that I can control. And I would encourage you to do that in your own time as well. Because let's just face it, there's a lot of negative information out there. That's right. I heard somewhere that, I think it's 70-80% of our thoughts at times are negative thoughts. Why? Because we live in a world that feeds us negative information all the time. We take that information in, and if we're not intentional, if we're not aware of how it's affecting us, we start to feel that sense of uncertainty, which doesn't feel good. That uncertainty leads to this sense of loss of control. There's so many things that I can't control. This is hard. This is overwhelming because the gas prices keep going up, and the food prices are going up, and the country is at war, and someone may have to go off to war. So we start to spiral down that path of fear. So I'm encouraging you today to be aware of this. Don't beat yourself up if you feel like you've been given in to the fear or whatever, but just to be more aware of your fear cycle and how it is affecting you. Because if we don't get control of it, it makes us weaker and less able to deal with and manage and live the life that God has put us here to live. We're not supposed to be giving in to the fear. Not saying don't feel it, but feel it, recognize it and what it's doing, and do that thing anyway, whatever it is. This is Tracy Early. Thank you for tuning in to the Early Morning Light podcast. Please continue to tune in. I appreciate you, and I will talk to you soon.